Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GLP's 10 out of 10. And today we have with us Jim Tetlow. After growing up in Ohio, Jim graduated from Carnegie Mellon University with a BFA in drama and dived straight into a career in lighting design. After some freelance work, Jim worked at the highly renowned Imiro Fiorentino Associates in New York City and then in Los Angeles for 10 years before starting his own company, which would become Nautilus Entertainment Design, and to his current base in San Diego. Jim's catalog of work spans architectural lighting with projects including the Silver Star Hotel and Casino in Philadelphia, and more recently, the Senate Chamber in the US Capitol, and soon to be followed by the House of Representatives Chamber, a current work in progress. Corporate event designs include a long list of blue chip clients such as General Motors, Apple, IBM, Porsche, and AT&T. And as you may have guessed from his company name, Jim has also worked extensively in the cruise ship market, consulting on the lighting for more than 55 ships, including some of the largest that have ever been built. In his television work, Jim has won an Emmy and 2 Monitor Awards, along with many more nominations. His credits span multiple pageants for Miss America and Miss Universe, US political conventions, and presidential debates, the world premiere of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Requiem for the BBC, and he's even got to work with Jim Henson's Muppets. Jim is a member of the American Society of Theatre Consultants, the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the International Cinematographers Guild, the Illumination Engineering Society, and my personal favorite, a Showlight International Committee member. Welcome, Jim Tetlow.
Thank you very much.
It's fantastic. Jim, we have our 10 questions that we're gonna pose to you. So let's kick off with the first one. Going obviously back to earlier in your career, what was your first show as a designer?
The first time I really had a sense of what I was doing was my junior year at Carnegie Mellon when I lit the River Niger. And it was directed by a man named Israel Hicks, who was a well-known regional theater director. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time that I'd come in with a concept and I'd explained it to him. He treated me like a professional, even though I'm a college kid. I really felt that I was in control of the lighting, mm-hmm. And I was getting what I wanted, and I was happy with the result. And that was the first time that it worked.
Right, everything came together, and yeah,
right
there. That's it. That's fantastic. We mentioned obviously just a top layer of some of the shows that you've done over the years, and some of the events and things that you've worked on, and some of the projects and everything like that. And I'm sure you know, obviously you're award winning, you've had some phenomenal success, but I'm going to guess that it wasn't all plain sailing, and there's been, you know, a couple of times when it didn't quite go according to plan. So have you got like a spinal tap moment you could share with us?
During the daytime Emmys in New York, sometime in the early 90s, my normal bottom sight colors were red, amber, blue, green. For this specific show, I wanted to do a really deep indigo, which you can't get mixing the red and blue, the primary red and blues. So I said, all right, I'm going to try leaving the green out and go with the indigo. So I told the electrician, I said, all right, I'm going to try this. I don't know if the cameras are going to read this or if it's going to do what I want. So bring the green cuts of gel also. So right. We get on camera and I look at it, and it wasn't meeting my expectations. So I called up the electricians and I said, okay, change it out to green, will you? I said, okay, we're on it. They were a little bit faster than I was in updating the opening cue of the show, where I had the indigo at full. And I didn't think there's any way they could have changed it already, but we go into the next rehearsal and you've got the big boom cameras sweeping in. We go into the first cue up and it looks like St. Patrick's Day. I mean, it is the brightest, greenest sight you've ever seen. And I'm shocked because I didn't think they'd been able to finish it. Right. So the director stops and starts screaming, what the hell is this? You know, and I'm trying to explain, but I'm laughing at the same time. So we got through that, you know. But,
it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Jim, what would you say is the best piece of advice anyone's ever given you, either professionally or otherwise?
Yeah. It was given to me by my old boss, Imero Fiorentino,
Okay.
who would say on a regular basis, remember, the lighting is the easy part.
Okay.
And I think it should probably be rephrased
Hmm.
into saying that um, the lighting isn't the hardest part of the job.
Okay.
What's harder than that is your relationships, um, uh, getting the work, motivating your crew,
Hmm.
all of those aspects of it. And of course, you have to come to the job in totally competent in your skills as a lighting designer, but that's not all of it. There's so much more to the job than just being a competent lighting designer.
Right. Right. Um, what would you say is your proudest achievement professionally?
Building, my wife and I built this really great company with professionals that work at the highest level on a variety of live events or installations, theme park work, cruise ships. Uh, that's the proudest achievement. If you said what's one of the shows I'm proudest of,
Mm.
I'd probably say the Andrew Lloyd Webber Requiem for the BBC, which was shot in St. Thomas Church on Fifth Avenue in New York.
Right. Phenomenal. Obviously, you travel internationally, or normally, not so much at the moment, maybe, but you travel a lot for your work. When you're at home and not traveling, what do you normally do in your downtime?
Traditional analog photography with a wet darkroom.
Okay. Wow.
I play in 19th century processes, platinum palladium printing, cyanotypes, similar processes where I take non-sensitized paper, I mix my own chemistry, I coat the papers, I expose it myself, clean it, wash it, develop it, all that.
Wow. The whole kind of soup to nuts process all the way through.
Yeah, and with a small modification, now that I'm shooting more digital than with a large format camera, 35 millimeter, I'm now making digital negatives with an inkjet printer and then contact printing them onto the paper.
Okay, right, right, perfect, perfect, and obviously a complete distraction from the day, from all the other stuff that you have to deal with. So I'm sure it's very very relaxing at the same time.
Right.
What would you say is your favorite venue or the best venue that you've ever worked in?
I'd like to address it in a different way if I can.
By all means.
Okay, and this came up because I was on a Zoom call with some other lighting designers a few months ago, and I said, "Has anybody worked in a good venue recently? Because every venue I work in is a disaster."
Right.
Right. And so I think the question ought to be, what's the worst venue you've ever worked in and have been able to pull off the show?
All right then. So Jim Tetlow, what's the worst venue you've ever worked in and managed to pull off a show?
Well, let's talk about the first presidential debate this year.
Okay.
We were supposed to do it at Notre Dame University. Because of COVID, they had to cancel. And fortunately, the Cleveland Clinic, who was already handling our health protocols for the debates, said, "Why don't you come do it here in our brand new educational building in Cleveland?"
Okay.
So we went there, and it's a beautiful Norman Foster designed, gorgeous building. There's just a few problems. The atrium is the size of a football field, and it's got an all glass ceiling. So there's no rigging points. It all has to be ground supported.
Oh.
And it's daylight. Yeah, I can only work at night.
Right.
And so we put in a massive ground support system. Kish Rigging designed it and installed it.
Okay.
And I had the least time of ever with the debates to focus, program, look at people under show conditions. We never saw the candidates under show conditions because they come in for their walkthrough in late afternoon.
Right.
So,
when it's still daylight.
The first time we saw the candidates under show conditions is when they walked out onto the stage.
Wow. Brilliant. Well, there we go. We'll keep that as a great answer to a great rework of the question. So, obviously, as we know, we're in various forms of lockdown and everything at the moment. Musically, if you were able to just keep one artist or one album with you during an extended period, who or what would that be?
I don't follow pop music, and I like, for the most, I can't focus on work with music. But having said that, 20 years of working in Branson, Missouri forced me to be a country music fan.
Right.
I hated it when I first started working there,
Okay.
but over 20 years, it grew on me. Out of the country western genre, I would say Alison Krauss is one of my favorite artists.
Mm-hmm.
Not only her voice, but the backup band, I feel are really great.
Yeah, she is absolutely a phenomenal artist. If you were able to spin back in time and go and visit the teenage Jim Tetlow and offer one piece of advice, what would that be?
You have no idea where your career is going to go, and that's okay.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some people in this business that have this linear trajectory. You know, they come out of school and they're going to be a Broadway designer, and they go to New York and they get jobs as assistants, and that's what they do. And there's some guys that come out, or women, and they go into television or they go into touring. Touring you can't do your whole life. You get burned out on that.
Right.
But what I think is important is whatever plan you have, don't be upset if it doesn't work out that way and you have to take detours and zigzag your way through your career.
Right. It'll still be fun. It'll still be great. Just go with it.
You follow the opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If you were able to sit down for a cup of coffee with any one person, they could be living, they could be deceased. Who would that be?
I'd like to sit down and speak with somebody of historic proportions in our industry, and that's Fred Foster.
Okay, the founder of ETC.
Yes, yeah, because he had such an outsized impact on the industry, on designers, on competitors, the corporate culture that he created at ETC is fantastic. They too have an ESOP for employee participation.
Yes.
And the last time I saw him was at LDI, I guess 2 years ago, several months before he died. And he seemed great, and we had a great conversation. And I was just so shocked and saddened when he died in February, I believe 2 years ago. So yeah. I'd like to just have another conversation with him over a beer or a drink or something.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Put the coffee to one side, take a beer instead. Fred Foster it is. We get to our final question, Jim. This one's a little bit more relaxed now. The pressure's off. When we're finished with the interview, your phone's going to ring, and it's going to be Team USA, and they're going to call you up to participate in the Olympics. Now, it could be for the Summer Games or it could be for the Winter Games, but the question is, what are they going to call you up for? What's the one thing you'd like to have a go at?
Oh, it's simple. Triathlon.
Okay. Right.
I mean, first of all, I do all three of those things, but here's the real reason. The triathlete may not be the best runner, may not be the best swimmer, and may not be the best cyclist.
Right.
But he's capable, he or she, capable of competing at the top levels in any one of those three events. And right. I think there's a direct correlation to my career on that.
That sounds very, very true. Again, just harping back to the beginning and all the different areas that you've worked in over the years. That's true. That's very true. There we go. Perfect. That's an absolute brilliant answer. So,
thank you.
Jim, thank you so much for finding the time for us. I know, obviously, you've got lots of projects going on. We discussed some of them, but yeah, you're never quiet. So that's great. And I really appreciate you being able to join us here.
Well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
It's great. It's great. Take care, stay safe. And of course, we look forward to, congratulations again. I'll just say one more time. And of course, we look forward to meeting up in person when that can happen again.
I look forward to it too.